Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a special introduction that I am privileged to give today. He is the man who has transformed the way our cities in Bengal develop and grow. He is the man with immense contribution to the social, cultural, and economic fabric of our society. He is the man with a strong social commitment towards development, healthcare, and education. His landmark projects have not just spruced up the Kolkata skyline, but also redefined the way people live and conduct business. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to present to you none other than Padma Shri Mr. Harshvardhan Neotia, the chairman of Ambuja Neotia Group. Welcome, sir. He remains connected with a wide spectrum of organizations and bodies, regardless of his busy schedule. Not only does it speak of his boundless energy, but also of his involvement and contribution to almost every facet of society. Apart from being a past president of FICCI and the president of AIMA, he is a member of several prestigious bodies such as the Chief Minister's Core Committee on Industry, Government of West Bengal, Chief Minister's Advisory Council, Government of Rajasthan, Governing Council of the India Design Council, and Board of Trustees, Indira Gandhi National Center for the Arts, New Delhi, to name a few. He also is the Honorary Consul of Israel in West Bengal and the chairman of Jnana Pravaha, a Varanasi-based cultural institute promoted by the Neotia family, which is engaged in preservation and dissemination of Indian heritage and culture. Besides several other awards and recognition, he was honored with Padma Shri in 1999 for initiating public-private partnership for development of social housing. He is blessed with two wonderful children, son Parthiv and daughter Paroma, and his better half, Mrs. Madhu Neotia, who is deeply involved with the Neotia Arts Trust, which is also the promoter of India Story and several other socially relevant activities. It is our honor, sir, to welcome you.
Thank you.
I now invite Mr. Vivek Jaiswal, Area Director BNI, to begin the Q&A session with Mr. Neotia. Vivek ji.
Good afternoon, sir, and it's a pleasure that I have the honor of asking you some questions. So we've all been growing up seeing you in the business fraternity in Bengal and being the face of business in Bengal. We love the way you conduct business and the way you have spread your wings from real estate to hospitality to F&B and so many other, the medical sector, so many industries you take care of, and you run these industries very well. Considering the current scenario that we are in right now, the past 5 months have been very challenging for many business entrepreneurs, people who are there in service. So there are a lot of questions which keep on going in our minds, right? So who else better than to ask questions to you so that we can get some guidance, some inspiration as to how we continue doing business, how we continue going about our living. So with your permission, I would like to ask you a couple of questions so that it may be of benefit to the entrepreneurs we have in BNI and the entrepreneurs in and around Kolkata. So the first question that I have for you, Mr. Neotia, is that the pandemic has made a paradigm shift in the way we work, right? How is technology going to affect us now and in the future?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. Thank you, Ikshita, for that absolutely unnecessary but rather flattering introduction. And I already feel a bit intimidated now. But now, first of all, we are in the middle of a pandemic, the like of which I think nobody in living memory has any experience. So as much as you are, so am I grappling with answers to many questions that we all have. One thing is certain, that technology, which was your question, has certainly gained a special place. I'm not one of those guys who's very technology friendly, or I would say technologically very savvy. But I think, as they say, necessity is the mother of invention. So the circumstances were such that you were locked up at home, and if you wanted to communicate with anybody outside, the only way you could do that is to use technology. And therefore, also my businesses were all impacted, and we had many decisions to be taken. And if I had to do conferencing or meetings, they all had to be done online. So I think I learned a lot more about technology in the last 5 months than I've learned in the last 15 years, I would think. So I think technology certainly has been a great savior, and also it's connected us in a totally different way. It never feels the same. I'm not happy doing it the way I do personally, but as a substitute in the given circumstances, I think it works very well. So one thing which is certain is that technology will alter a lot of transactions, alter the way we think, alter the way we act in many spheres. But that's not to say that the real brick and mortar stuff will go, because at the end of the day, technology is only a medium to communicate or to facilitate some of the activities. But you would still have to grow food in the and the vegetables in the fields. You still have to make houses on the ground. You will still have to serve many customers, particularly those that come and partake of your hospitality. So all that will continue to happen, and maybe at the moment slightly impaired, but I think it'll come back once things settle down.
Yes, rightly said, sir, because we all know you as a people person, and obviously a people person would not want to be confined in their own rooms and just communicating to everyone through a screen. So we love to have that physical meetings and see each other and at close counters. Yes, that is what we all are yearning for, but yes, we need to make a change with the times. So considering hospitality is one of, I think, your pet areas of ventures that you've done. So how do you see the hospitality fraternity adapt to this change?
Well, I think we're in the middle of a storm, and it is one of those sectors out of the 2 or 3 most impacted, adversely impacted sectors. Hospitality is one of them. I don't think it's easy to figure out any clarity at this particular point of time. I have only a couple of things. One, in the short run and the immediate case, you have to keep your head low. You have to contain your cost to the extent that is possible. I know it is not possible. There's a very large fixed overheads that you have. But whatever little you can do, you have to innovate in the form of food delivery and such kind of activities, which again is not in no way compensate for the losses, but still to keep the machinery going. And then you have to hope, and I do hope it will come true, that no sooner we have a vaccine, or if the pandemic sort of gets under control, people will want to meet people and people will want to travel.
Correct.
So this is a basic human desire. Many setbacks have been faced by the world, be it in security, the world wars, so many other situations, and it's all come back. But yes, if you ask me, will we not have a very painful transition? Yes. A couple of years, I would think, would be very tough. And I don't see why it won't come back, as much as I also don't see how it can come back very, very quickly.
Correct. So another area of work that you do is you do a lot of real estate. I mean, you started off your journey with real estate, right? So, and people are always wanting to invest in the opportunity and make a quick buck, or maybe invest in a good time. I mean, invest at a good time. So, what is your view of real estate in the current scenario? Is it a good time to invest?
Yes, but you have to choose your project. It is a good time because there has been a cash flow problem with most developers.
Correct.
And before the prices, I think, are at rock bottom. As you know, there has been a problem in the economy for the last 3-4 years as far as real estate is concerned.
Yes.
We've had several shocks with the demonetization, followed by RERA introduction, followed by GST, followed by the NBFC crisis, and now we have the mother of all, COVID.
Yeah.
So I think we have really gone through a very tough period, and therefore the prices have remained pretty much soft over the last 3, 4 years. In fact, I think in Calcutta, where I operate, we probably remained flat in prices over the last 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't, and costs have gone up in every sense,
Correct.
and compliance costs have gone up because of all these regulations. So I do think the prices are attractive. I feel that because of the pandemic and because of the general awareness that has been brought in the customers, people are now opting for credible projects, projects which are well conceived. And there's obviously a preference for projects which are nearing completion because people can see exactly what they will get. But they would also book in advance, but
Mm-hmm.
only with a very few developers.
Correct.
They believe that they can trust and based on their track record. This is the general sense I have.
Rightly said, sir. I mean, people would want to invest, and there's the right time to invest, obviously, but then with the right project, the right group, and so that their money is also safe and the project gets developed in time. So I know these are challenging times for us economically and business-wise, work-wise. We're all having a lot of challenge. So, but I would like to ask you, sir, how do you see this pandemic affecting us socially and culturally?
Uh, Well, you can look at it in many ways. I tend to be a diehard optimist, so I will look at the positive side of it.
Yes.
Uh, One of the things that many very smart people, very intelligent people, very hardworking people have not been able to do over the last several years is to actually think, because beyond the important and urgent areas where they are already busy with, a very large amount of time was going in traveling, in meeting people, in socializing, and not all of it was necessary. A lot of
Correct.
it was
Yes.
just because you were in that space and you needed to do it. So actually, a lot of us, including me, were kind of living by the day and literally not thinking much. And because when we did have a little time at home, we were so tired
True.
that you didn't really. But I think the lockdown forced many of us to really start rethinking. And when you rethink, you start refocusing.
Correct.
And when you do that, you start thinking about so many things that you perhaps could do differently. And I think that's a wonderful experience that at least a lot of my friends and I share, that we have actually centered ourselves in many senses, which we were not. And also, you suddenly realize that you don't need so much to live a decent life. And
True.
more particularly when you see on television, uh, on one side, our business are very badly affected, so you can feel a tremendous loss of wealth and value, and you are going to have losses maybe for this year and maybe next year. But on the other side, you see so many other people who don't have jobs, who don't
True.
have shelter, and then it comes home that you are privileged. God has been kind to you, so count your blessings. The fact that you have been able to remain healthy so far,
Correct.
so keep fingers crossed. uh,
Absolutely.
you can get this virus any day, any time, but so far you have been able to survive it. And I think there are so many blessings to count. So when you look at that side, you start feeling very lucky and privileged. While you look at the other side, you feel, oh God, what a terrible problem. We can't go out, we can't meet our friends, we can't do this, we can't do that. And besides everything else, we have also destroyed so much of value, and there's so much of
True.
losses that have got mounted up. And all that we have spent so many years to earn has just sort of, a large part of it has got blown away.
Correct.
But I suppose, I mean, when such an event happens, I don't think we can really find what caused it. I mean, I'm sure there are forces and powers and energies which are much beyond our ability to understand how one tiny virus can create such a havoc all
True.
over the world. So one has to submit to some divine will that, okay, there is some correction, maybe nature is taking its own correction for the way that we have probably misused it all these years, or there is some other reason. I don't know the reason, but I do believe that there is a reason which we will know one day. But it may be certainly not a reason that you could individually handle.
True, true, sir, true. Rightly said, very well said that obviously we always have the optimist in us and we always say, yes, look at the light at the end of the tunnel. But here we cannot even see how long the tunnel is. So it's always good to focus on the silver lining of the clouds and focus on what we have and what we have got right now so that we can tide over the times. Now, as you said earlier, that yes, businesses are getting impacted, working capitals are getting squeezed, inflow is very, very restricted. Outflow is you cannot restrict the outflow because you need to continue your fixed costs, etc. So, what advice would you give the budding entrepreneurs, right? Like we have in BNI, like we have all over across India, to keep themselves motivated despite conflicts and obstacles?
Well, one eternal optimism is that the Spanish flu also finally went away,
Yes.
and so did the two world wars, and so were so many other tragedies that the world faced. So the motivation can only be that this may be a long winter, but
Mm-hmm.
there will be an end to this winter.
Ah, yes.
We get very worried because we have no idea about exactly when and how it will conclude.
True.
But I have no measure of doubt that 99% of us will live to see the day when this is over. So that is the one optimism. The other optimism is that what could you do anyway? It
Mm.
has come. Now you have two options: accept it as an event and then respond to it with your ability, knowledge, capability to the best of your ability,
Mm-hmm.
or grumble about it. And if you do grumble, then you only stress yourself and nothing is going to happen. It's
True.
not, the virus is certainly not listening to your grumbling. The
Correct.
virus is certainly not going to get scared because you got angry. None of that is going to make any damn difference. So whatever it is going to cause in terms of the havoc that it has caused, well, to some extent we can avoid the impact by being taking the natural precautions like
Mm-hmm.
masking yourself and washing hands and keeping a distance from other people. But there's a limit to that. And
True.
beyond that, the general havoc that it has created in the world, not just in our country, but the whole world, is something that we have to bear. And if we can bear it with a smile, then we are less stressed. We still have to bear it. We can only
Absolutely.
grumble and bear it or smile and bear it.
Absolutely right. Absolutely correct. Because yes, we have to bear it. So it's better than to smile and bear it. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. So, sir, you have led a large number of organizations, companies successfully over so many years, and you've also groomed so many people in your own organization and turned them into leaders. You've created so many other leaders across so many people, so many verticals that you lead. You're also grooming. I think your son is now also ready to come into your organization into a bigger role. So, what do you think works in an organization? An assertive leader or an aggressive leader?
No, I think neither of the two. Frankly speaking,
Okay.
you need to be an intuitive leader.
Okay.
You need
Okay.
to be a leader with, with compassion and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure how much I'm able to lead people in that classical sense that we used to think about when I was growing up. The children today are far more knowledgeable and
True.
far more, um, I would think, have opinions of their own. So I sometimes wonder whether I am trying to tell a thing or two to my son, or he's trying to tell a thing or two to me. It's
Correct.
it's always up in the air. But both my children, fortunately, have received good education and they are uh, have a mind of their own, and it's a great pleasure to talk to them. Not very often I don't agree, but that's not the point. The point is they have a view, and
True.
the world will go in their direction rather than in my direction. So It's for me to really adjust to them rather than for them to adjust to me. But that's on the lighter side of it. On a more serious note, I think uh, this whole business of being assertive or aggressive is not really necessary. I think people like people who love people. I think on one level, you need to have a deep sense of compassion. At the other, you need to be intuitive because you have to be innovative in today's
True
time
that.
and circumstances. And at the third, you need to have integrity. People must trust you. That's
Absolutely.
a absolutely core fundamental of any human being. If they don't trust you, no matter how smart you are, it's not going to work. So I think
Absolutely.
if you really ask me, being intuitive, compassionate, and having a high sense of integrity, to me would be the cornerstone of good leadership.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. It reminds me of one of the sayings that I've often heard: "People buy people first, and then only they buy your product." So if they like you as a leader, as a business owner, they love your trust and integrity. Obviously, then only they'll come and buy your products and services on a repeated basis. Very well said. Yes. So assertive, aggressive, no. You have to be an intuitive leader, and yes, integrity is topmost. So, sir, you've had a long journey, right? A long journey in the industry, in your business. If I to ask you one thing, right? If you were to turn back time, right? And I would like to ask you, what is that one thing that you would like to change in your journey, and why?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm eternally grateful to the Almighty for giving me the life that He did. As any life, it has been a mixed bag of many adventures that went well and some that didn't go well. But in many senses, it has been a very rewarding life. So
Mm-hmm.
I would first of all say that I have tremendous gratitude to the Almighty and to my elders and to all my gurus for all their blessings. So I really don't think I should wind back the clock. But if you ask me on a very personal note, what well, I think in my younger days, I think I wasted a lot of time.
Uh-huh.
I think maybe at that time you think you're going to live forever. So
Absolutely.
you maybe as I aged, I started realizing that we need to speed on certain things. We have so much more to contribute to this world. Is it really worthwhile wasting so much time? I just feel that if I had this thinking many years earlier when I had much more energy, uh, maybe I could have been a little more useful to this world than I have been. But anyway, I think you learn with time, I suppose, and so that's where I am.
Absolutely. Yes, you always grow wise with time, and wisdom does come in with a lot of age. That's true. So I know that you read a lot and you follow a lot of people. You must be having a lot of quotes, a lot of mottos that are there that are thrown at you that you also pick up a lot of times. So I would like to ask you, what is that one motto or a quote that inspires you at all times?
See, it's not a motto, but I think somewhere long years ago I read that uh, the purpose of life is a life of purpose.
Mhm.
And it stayed with me as something very simply put, but very profound. That हम लोग सब पूछते हैं ना जीवन का लक्ष्य क्या है.
Sahi.
तो जीवन का लक्ष्य यही है कि जीवन एक पर्पसफुल होना चाहिए.
Mhm. Mhm.
Somewhere with the privileges, all of us have some privileges, चाहे वो हमारे संस्कार का हो, परिवार का हो, या पढ़ाई लिखाई का हो. Whatever it is, we are all privileged in some sense. If you look
Mhm.
at the rest of India, we are all privileged. And these privileges are not meant to be only for our own enjoyment of life. I think a responsibility comes with the privilege. And the responsibility is to try and make a difference to other people's
True.
lives, particularly those who are not as privileged as you.
True.
Whether it is building an enterprise, giving jobs, creating opportunities, doing whatever way you can, or in fact, even just sharing your thoughts, these are some of our responsibilities and obligations. And I think if we can continue to do that in a meaningful manner, that to me becomes at least a purposeful way of living.
True that, sir. True that. So, wonderful insights into your business and your commercial areas and how you think as a leader. So, thank you, sir, for your wonderful insights into the questions that are there on everyone's minds right in these times. And I'm sure it'll help our viewers to take more informed decisions based on your inputs that you've given to us in the past for the past couple of questions that I've asked you. Well, enough of the serious stuff now, sir. Let me now hand it over to Ipsita. So, as I think she also has some questions that will help us know the non-business side of you. Right, so, Ipsita, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Vivek ji. You can hear me, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Am I audible, Vivek ji?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So, sir, always good to have a lighter side in these serious times. And we all want to know a little something about you in this regard. So, a little birdie told me you are a big fan of Hindi movies. And I know that you like Madhuri Dixit and Amitabh Bachchan. So, can you tell me which movies have been your all-time favorites?
Well, I think it won't be much of a brainer because when I was growing up and I was 16 years old, I saw Sholay. And I think that's a particular age or a particular time frame in your life when something hits you. And so that I would say of course, besides the fact that it's a great movie, it's also the fact that you relate to something very specially at a particularly formative age in your life. So that's certainly one of them. Of late, I did like this movie Three Idiots quite a lot. I thought there was a lot of messaging, and of course, from an aesthetic point of view, I just love all of the movies made by Sanjay Leela Bhansali. If I'm involved with architecture and design, I find his sense of color and scape and music just fabulous. I also love the movies of Yash Chopra ji, the romantic love stories. Kabhi Kabhi Silsila are my favorites from his repertoire, also Veer Zara. So it's a mixed bag. Of course, I do love a lot of other movies, art movies. Great follower of Satyajit Ray's works, Mrinal Sen, Ritik Ghatak, mostly in Bengali, of course.
Lovely, lovely. Those are all wonderful. Cinematographically, they are beautiful films, all of them. I'm also aware that you're fond of reading, and philosophy books and biographies are favored by you. So, any specific person's biography that really inspired you?
Well, one of the persons whose life I really enjoyed reading a lot and is Walt Disney. Because he was somebody who kind of made an institution out of creativity. You generally associate creativity with a very individual trait, a very personal trait. You know about creative people, but very often you don't very often hear about creative companies. And he kind of created an organization where he tried to put his ideas into a format, which I thought was very interesting. And he was a man who thought ahead of his time. So, of course, there are so many other people, but I'm saying one of those all-time.
Well, it's very, very interesting you said Walt Disney because I've spent 12 years of my life working with Walt Disney. And it all started with a mouse.
Yes.
And in our office in Bombay, there is this huge poster of Walt Disney with his signature, and it is so inspiring. It all started with a mouse, and look at where the organization is today. What a wonderful! It's one of the best brands in the world today. So I'm so happy you said Walt Disney. Okay. Anybody else that inspired you, sir, other than?
Well, amongst all the, I have been much sort of associated with the works of Swami Vivekananda.
Ah,
I have first heard them through the discourses of Swami Chinmayananji and Swami Parthasarthi. But then I started reading the complete works of Vivekananda. It's not that I haven't read Aurobindo and others, but I found Vivekananda very interesting because it was so easy to read. His language was simple, and he was able to distill our Vedantic philosophy in very simple day-to-day language. Aurobindo has been very profound, but his language is tough, and his concepts are a little bit more difficult for people to understand. You have to reread it many times. So that's one of the people I feel that young people should read.
okay. So, from films to books to food, what is your favorite cuisine?
My favorite cuisine is very boring. It is dal chawal.
Wow. I love that also.
That's my son's favorite. Dal
I'm very
chawal.
घर का खाना kind of person. Because I run restaurants and hotels, I have to often entertain and eat out, but that's never my preference. I would, if given a chance, I would at least have 80%, 90% of my meal of a very simple sabji, dal, and chawal.
That's wonderful. Okay, and what is your favorite holiday destination, sir? Any place that you love to go with your family?
Well, my children are very upset with this funny holiday destination that I have. My holiday destination, unfortunately, is London. It's not exactly a holiday destination, it's a city. The reason is because I have lots of friends there, and also because I'm very familiar with the place. And I have, of course, with the grace of God, traveled to all the places in the world. And probably in the last 5-10 years, I'm not exactly a tourist anymore in that sense, because not that I've seen everything, but I'm not one of those guys who would get up early in the morning and then go for a whole day sightseeing tour, etc. anymore. I've done that.
Okay.
I've done that in my part of younger days, but I'm a little bit of a lazy holidayer now because I get few holidays
Right.
and I want to read, and my children and Madhu think it's very stupid that I have to go all the way to London to read. But what to do if I don't find the time in Calcutta? Of course, the lockdown has substituted that and given me a lot of time to do a lot of reading, which I've caught up on years of reading. So that has been wonderful. But the other thing is you get great food in London because of the choice of cuisine around. And then you have friends. And then usually you go there when the weather is good. So you have good weather, you are familiar with the place, you have good food, you have good friends. And while Madhu can busy herself in going to a museum or probably going to a shop or something, I can be happy reading my book in a cafe. And so that's my favorite place, but it's therefore a very boring choice. And
Okay. All right. Well, it was really amazing, to have this conversation with you, sir. I mean, wow, really. Thank you so much for giving us your precious time and sharing so many wonderful and insightful things with us. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. So, on behalf of Mr. Bimal Samal, Executive Director of BNI, and all of us at BNI Kolkata here, we thank you for gracing this platform with your distinguished presence. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for your time.